This is going to be a second part to a very, very old video 2 years ago now. And today I'm going to be talking about how I really think that the Blizzard balance team is not properly communicating with each other. I don't necessarily blame anybody on the team. I don't know whose fault it is. I don't know what's going on over there. But clearly something is going wrong. And I'm going to use one irrefutable piece of evidence, I think, to why I think that the balance team just doesn't have proper communication at the moment. Whether that be because, individuals are, unable to, maybe it's because they are being overworked, rushed a little bit, whatever. This is going to be a second part to a very, very old video 2 years ago now. Evidence that at least something here is going on. Now, during this video, I want to state that I do have another video in the works where I'm going to be going over more of my own balance opinions, because that seems to go well every time I do it anyways. This time I'm going to be talking about supports though, whereas my last video was about tanks. But in this video, I'm going to be going over how, in my opinion, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of communication in the balance team, either in theory or ideas or opinions, whatever it may be. I don't think that the balance team is properly communicating with one another about what the goal is of the balance, about what ideas they have for the game, what they think would be best for the game. There's just something missing right now. And our story is going to start back all the way 10th of August 2023. Almost 2 years ago now. It's been a while, so I wouldn't blame you for not remembering this. But fun fact, Cassidy's fall-off range used to be 25 to 45 meters. For reference, before this past patch, it was 20 to 30. And in Overwatch 1, it was 20 to 40. Just for a frame of reference as to what we're dealing with when it comes to Cassidy and how the state of balance is. Granted, range is much more important for a hit-scan hero in Overwatch 2 than it was in Overwatch 1. There's just less range in the game, but also there's not another tank to, to hold those angles, block damage. So now increased range has a much bigger effect when the map is a lot more wide open and when the DPS are the ones who have to take those angles for themselves. So back August 2023, we saw Cassidy get his range nerf. He was still good for a while. He got some, buffs here, nerfs there, and for a while, I don't have much to talk about until June of 2024, nearly a year later, and nearly, again, a year ago. The damage of Fan the Hammer was reduced from 50 to 45. I personally think this was a great change. It makes Cassidy a lot more manageable to deal with when it comes to specifically tanks. And if you hit somebody with what was once Hinder Grenade and became Flashbang, Fan the Hammer was an extremely toxic tool to try and cheese out a kill. And it's just really good on big body targets. It's not a good ability outside of hitting something like a Bastion, Torb, or God forbid a tank, where you're doing 300 damage in a second. Nerfing that down to 270 was something that I could really feel as a tank player myself. And I'm glad that they made the change. It also gives room to buff him in more interesting ways. Granted, ways that I don't think they've capitalized on great, minus the buff to Deadeye, I'll say, which was great, making him move quicker after a second or two. Amazing, amazing decision from them. I want you to keep in mind the wording here. Secondary fire, Fan the Hammer, damage reduced from 50 to 45. Just a little bit later to July, 1 month more. His primary fire damage fall-off was touched up again. This time, the range was decreased from 25 to 35 meters to 20 to 40 meters. Or 20 to 30 meters, sorry, not 20 to 40, but 20 to 30. Specifically, let me repeat the wording to you again. Primary fire fall-off range rescaled from 25 to 35 meters to 20 to 30 meters. I like the wording there. I'm probably going to steal that from my own personal balance videos from the future because I think it's good wording, and it shows an evolution in how the balance team is thinking about things and how they are approaching the balance. Skip ahead to just about a week ago now, 25th of March 2025. In the patch, primary fire fall-off range increased from 20 to 25 meters. Secondary fire damage increased from 45 to 50. What the fuck are we doing? Why is it that over the course of 2 years, we are fine-tuning Cassidy's range and his damage to a point where he is most healthy? And at this point, maybe he is a bit undertuned. Maybe it's time to look into balancing other parts of his kit. We get another set of reversions, pretty much. Not only reversions, but also fairly incomplete patch note wording, right? Not very descriptive. What does it mean to change the fall off range from 20 to 25 meters? Is the maximum range increased? We don't know. there is no real way to know from this patch notes. I would assume the maximum was increased to 30 because 25 to 30 meters is a very narrow range. Yeah, I could go test it, but that's not the point. The point is a patch note should tell you exactly what was changed. This is Nintendo-ass patch notes. This is Smash Ultimate-ass patch notes right here. Granted, this is a mid-season patch, so sometimes they can get a little bit funky with these mid-season patches, although generally they seem to be more so intending to truly balance the game. What do they have to comment on for this? There's no developer comments for this change. But a week prior, they changed a perk, the Past Noon perk, to give 10% more ult charge, and that had a dev comment. And if we look at the other changes, the damage fall off, both of them had dev comments. Pretty lengthy ones at that. Oh, if we're looking at the Fan the Hammer, that's a whole ass paragraph, and if we're looking at the primary fire adjustment alone, that's another whole ass paragraph.
Hey! What's going on here?
Well, this is where I think that there's just not communication in the balance team. This is why I think that. Alongside, random power creep buffs for characters like Orisa that we keep talking about, like D.Va that we keep talking about. I don't hate them because, they're buffing a character I find annoying. No, I hate them because the buff doesn't achieve anything. If we take a closer look at Orisa, a lot of her random changes have been just, fuck it, buff something. Fuck it, nerf something. The character is overperforming, nerf her. How? I don't know. I don't know how she's overperforming. Or maybe they do. And maybe these are the decisions that they're going for. I don't know. But there's so many reversions and so many, contradicting balance changes and so many random power creep buffs, like removing Orisa's damage fall off, like increasing the cooldown of Fortify, like increasing the overhealth of Fortify, or increasing the damage of her primary fire by 1. So many small, inconsequential changes that don't really move the needle, and the character might increase her win rate by 0.5%, sure, but they don't do anything in the grand scheme of things. They don't give her any more direction. And that's why I don't like these Cassidy changes that they just gave him. Yeah, Fan the Hammer being slightly stronger makes some sense. He's supposed to be the closer range hit scan option, but increasing his range after we've nerfed it several times and given him more HP to compensate, after we've given him a 75 damage burst option that also has a massive bit of utility, after giving him a damage resist on roll, after giving him more movement on Deadeye. Why are we increasing his range again? There's so many more places you could buff Cassidy. Maybe tighten the spread of Fan the Hammer a little bit to give it more use against non-tanks. Maybe give him a passive, like just a straight up passive. What that passive could be, I don't really know. Maybe give him a little bit of healing for every final blow he gets. Maybe give him by default a shortening of roll cooldown on headshot. Maybe give eliminations a little bit of something. Like maybe an elimination gives him 1 ammo back, or a final blow gives him 2 ammo back. I don't know. There are interesting things to do with Cassidy. There are ways to buff him and nerf him that aren't just Fan the Hammer and damage fall off. And yet every time we see him in the patch notes, it had something to do with his gun. Sure, there was that time they gave Flashbang a little bit of a tuning. There was that time they made Deadeye charge a little bit faster and, gave him that whole new ability, Flashbang, right? But then if you're looking at number tweaks, if you're looking at things to try to, nudge him closer into the meta that actually assists his identity and really, give him something to do rather than just number buff for the sake of number buff, it's either HP, fall off, or Fan the Hammer. There's some times where they're trying to give roll more damage resist. There's some times when they're trying to touch up the cooldowns, but for the most part, it's just been this. For 9 years almost, it's been this. I'm not even just talking about Overwatch 2 at this point. And really, if I want to be more specific, it's been this for 6 years. But his fall off was touched up all the way back in the beta, and they still can't stop fucking with it. Ever since Overwatch 2, they've been messing with this damage fall off, and ever since 2019, they've been messing with things that aren't. But realistically, it always comes back to his health, his fall off, or Fan the Hammer. So my ideal scenario for Cassidy would be after a final blow, he heals himself for, let's say, 30 HP. Give him that as a passive. Make it so that then he is more of the brawlier type of, hit scan. Make it so that he is rewarded more for staying in a fight. I don't know. Just stop fucking with the fall off and the Fan the Hammer. It's clearly like 2 or maybe even 3 people doing it, and some of them don't have a lot to say other than, oh fuck, we need to buff Cassidy, here's something. I know that Blizzard can do better. I know that the Bounds team isn't lazy. I know that they're not just slacking. I know that their job is hard. I know that job security is tough these days. That's why I'm asking Blizzard, and not the developers, to try more, to be better.